Hello, family, friends, loved ones, fellow humans. I am here today to share a few things. I miss y'all, and I waited kind of long to do another video. I hope you're just like chomping at the bit to hear from me. Wouldn't that be awesome? I am going to cover 4 things, okay? First is my results from some cancer scans and tests. Second is Craig's retirement party. Third is a book I want to talk about. Fourth is a retreat, a very unique retreat I just went on, and it was all you do is write. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna try to cover these briskly. You know, that's not my method, but if you like my slow ways, I'm sure my brisk is not other people's brisk. Anyway, but so you might want to get your cup of tea. Oh, my thing got stuck on the cup. Work in progress. Isn't that what we all are? I keep that on my writing desk because all the writing I do is a work in progress, and I am a work in progress. And I hope you can feel that and let that be a sense of freedom. Okay, so first of all, I told y'all in my last video that in late February, I was gonna have a PET scan and a bone marrow biopsy. Okay, the results of each one came back not fantastic. We were hoping just for kind of like, great, they look great, you're doing great. No, neither one. Now, excuse my raspy voice. I have had this allergy thing for like 6 weeks, and are y'all irritated? Are you having allergies that last forever? Anyway, okay, so let's get to the most important thing is my PET scan. You know, I had CAR-T, an intense therapy that I had to be hospitalized for in the last summer. And the last thing we want is to find out that cancer made it through that. And that it's returned, please, Lord. No! Okay, well, we're in a waiting period because there was a spot that lit up on the PET scan in the back of my throat. And on PET scans, it's really irritating because they just kind of fire up these places, and inflammation can cause it to show that firing up. So it could just be inflammation. Remember, I went through this at this time last year, and it turned out to be lymphoma back again. But maybe this isn't a repeat. Maybe this is a new chapter, and it's just gonna having turned out to be inflammation. So I get another scan is what they do. Another PET scan, and it's going to be in 2 weeks. April 9th. If you like to pray for these things, you can be praying on April 9th. It's going to be a very big day for me. I'm going to have a PET scan and labs and see my oncologist, Dr. Nair, with the results. And I'm also going to meet with a new specialist. Isn't that great? Because of my bone marrow biopsy and what it showed. My bone marrow biopsy showed a couple of things. One was that my platelet mother cells, which I didn't know there were such thing, have been depleted. The doctor who ordered this biopsy did not tell me what we're going to do about that, because he wanted to move on to the more important thing, which is he is sending me to a leukemia prevention team, because my bone marrow shows some mutations that are pre-leukemia. So people who have lymphoma, I think, have a higher chance of getting than leukemia. So that's my deal. I'll be going in 2 weeks to learn, well, what does that mean? How do we prevent these mutated cells from becoming cancer cells? The doctor mentioned that I might have to do like a trial. And y'all know that I said no to this other trial that was, anyway, recently. And that trial, I would have had to go every week down to Houston, a 4-hour drive every week to just get labs done for reporting. So, if I just don't want to find out that leukemia prevention means more than just observation, but being part of a trial where I'd have to have my life majorly upset again. Okay, the other thing, moving on to Craig's retirement party. Y'all, it was the most beautiful gift from our church. And lots of our family came from out of town, and it was just, and some close friends came who were from out of town. It was so, incredibly important for Craig and for me as his wife, to see his life celebrated, his life particularly in ministry celebrated. So I just wanted to share, 2 men spoke on him, about him, and then our daughters, Hannah and Sarah, did. So one friend, Vance, he's an elder in our church and a dear friend, he talked about Craig, and he talked about this book, In the Name of Jesus. If you are a follower of Jesus, this is just the most beautiful book about what it truly means to follow Jesus. And Vance spoke so incredibly articulately and beautifully about how Craig embodies these 3 principles. And it's basically like, so it's Henry Nouwen, who is one of my all-time favorite authors. He was a priest in the Catholic Church. But it's, he talked about the 3 temptations. 1, to be relevant, 1, to be spectacular, and 1, to be powerful. And that's the whole book. It's about those 3 temptations as a leader. And Vance talked about, well, it talks about the 3 temptations and then like the antidotes. And Vance talked about how Craig embodies the antidotes, which are things like contemplative prayer, meaning prayer to know Jesus, like relationship prayer, and confession and forgiveness. And I don't know. These aren't sounding right. Theological reflection is the third one. Anyway, Craig, God made him naturally a person who doesn't call attention to himself, and that is for God's glory. I mean, and for Craig's joy. But Craig also laid down his life in not pursuing relevance or spectacularity or power. I watched him every day lay down those things and pick up his cross and follow Jesus. And the integrity that he has lived his life with along those lines has really blown my mind. And I was so grateful that Vance really got Craig. I wish I could remember more details to share. But if you know Craig, you are going, oh my gosh, this is all so true. So then a dear friend of his who's another EPC, Evangelical Presbyterian Church, that's the denomination we have served in all these years. Doug is another pastor in another church here in Longview. He wrote a talk about Craig, but then he was sick and we were so dashed. It was a surprise, but Doug sent he had a manuscript, and so it was able to be read at the party. And it was also like, I just sat there, I mean, with my mouth hanging open, I'm sure, because Doug so gets Craig and he so sees his glory. And what I mean by that is his radiance, the radiance of God in him, which, what? Yes, this is how God orders things, that we get to share in his glory. We get to be radiant as his children. And Doug so articulated some of the beauty of Craig. And the thing I remember most is that he talked about, people kept saying, you have to meet Craig Van Bibber. And Craig told Doug that people kept telling him, you two need to meet. So he said after he met him, he was like, he's the kindest person I've ever met. And Craig really is. And so he talked about his gentleness, but then he talked about his fierceness. And that is Craig to a T, his gentleness plus his fierceness about things that matter, about protecting the innocent or the marginalized, about justice and about truth. He will be fierce. And that is all, again, wrapped up in his integrity. And so it was just, okay. And so then Hannah and Sarah, our twin daughters, our daughters, our people, our best friends, once our babies got up and they said, so you've just heard Craig Van Bibber described. Imagine being Craig Van Bibber's child. How lucky would you be to be Craig Van Bibber's child? And then they just went on to share that, being a PK, it's called, a preacher's kid, is known to be kind of a dicey life. That, you know, and sometimes PKs are known to go wild because out of rebellion of, I am breaking out of this cage that's put on me. So they talked about knowing other preachers' kids and reading about other preachers' kids who have had a really tough go with their dad and with living in the world as a preacher's kid. But they were like, you know what? It wasn't that hard for us because Craig Van Bibber was a gentle father and a present father. And he wasn't selling out and putting into his ministry everything he should have been given to his family and things like that. And they watched that the person at home was the person in public. So I was crying. I think Craig was crying, and I think everybody was crying. All the people who came to the party were so engaged and on board and with us and celebrating with us. They were moved too, and it was just such a lovely experience the whole night. And I feel so incredibly grateful because Craig's last 4 years in ministry were weird, you know? They were minister, pull out, take care of Jamie. Minister, pull out, take care of Jamie. And it, you know, it could have just been that our church just was like, well, it's good that you're retired because we really need to get a full-time person, a real pastor. But they weren't like that. They were like, we get to retire Craig Van Bibber. And, you know, we get to be the church that gets to help Craig move into retirement. And they wanted to celebrate him. And man, I just feel so grateful. Okay. For a minute, I thought I'd messed up. I paused. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I want to talk about this book a little bit, The Magician's Nephew. Okay, so you know I'm part of a writing community, and it's just such an incredible gift from God. You know, I had to quit my work, which I loved so much, counseling. I miss my clients and I miss walking with people and working with them in their lives. And it just doesn't work with my continual health issues. So to write is like a gift. I can do it. Sometimes I feel bad enough I can't, and I go through periods where that happens, but often I can, and writing about what I'm going through is an outlet that helps me heal. I'm going to take a sip of your drink. And so anyway, I'm part of this writing community, and there are friends, and it's just a blessing. So anyway, every now and then, every few months, couple months, we have a class on a book and how the author wrote. It's not like, oh, what's the book about, as much as how did he accomplish what he did through writing. And it's really fascinating. If you're interested, it's called thehabit.co. You can look it up. It's Jonathan Rogers. Anyway, this book It's part of the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I just recommend that you pick it up and read it again. If you've read it before, read it again. I'm just been amazed how sweet it is and how delightful and how it awakens things in me spiritually. So I just thought I would read this little poem that I wrote. We were all encouraged, our last assignment actually, was to write a poem from the book. And so I don't know if you know about the lion from the Chronicles of Narnia, but he is the critical figure. I won't say too much, but let's see. Let me see if I can find a picture. Here's a picture of him. Can you see well? Ah! So, I don't want to explain because I don't want you, if you haven't read this book, I don't want to give anything away, but I think you can get enough from this poem. Okay, you ready? Okay. I titled it, When the Lion Sang. When the lion sang, the old cabbie rang. Glory be, I'd have been a better man if I'd known there were things like these. Let me know the things like these. Let me hear the lion sing. Let me see his eastern skies. Let me see strawberry fly. May I walk the cool green grass with the rose and wild lilac? Might the lion's prow draw near, his shaggy mane and great clawed feet, his tawny face now near my own? What? His tears? I am known. Let me hear the lion sing, and I will truly live. It's a poem that I was inspired to write for our assignment. And I recommend to you the Chronicles of Narnia. And specifically, you can start with The Magician's Nephew. There are two different orders of which people are very convicted about which you should read the books in, but this one's chronological if you start with this one. The other are publishing dates. Oh my, publishing dates. Those are the purists. Okay. All right, now, my last thing I want to just share a little bit about real quick is that I just returned home from what in the Habit, Jonathan has started offering a focus retreat where you go for 4 days. Okay, I'm going to try keeping this cough drop here. So 4 days of writing, 5 nights. Is that right? 4 nights, 5 days. Anyway, so you go, the idea is you go and you get writing done. And so we write from 8:30 after breakfast, 8:30 to 5:30 with a lunch in there. So you have meals together with the other, there were 10 of us. Meals together with the other writers, and in the evenings we would have just inspirational things. Anyway, I really got to know these other 9 people, and Jonathan says, you need to be alone for hours and hours to get writing done. People figure out other ways, obviously. but it can be really helpful to get a big launch forward. He says, but also when you're alone, you go kind of crazy because your mind plays tricks with you. Like, what are you doing spending all this time on this? And so it's very universal that writers here, and I'm sure everybody who tries to create anything, he has to deal with this this voice in their head that it's all a waste of time, you're no good. There's a book on it called The War of Art, and it's so good. So I had a whole little journey there. It was pretty intense. I found myself crying the first day and a half. Just these big cries coming from some really deep place, and I wasn't even sure what it was all about, but I could tell that it was spiritual, meaning that like the Holy Spirit was drawing this out of me and touching me deeply. And so I felt at times like, I know this is just grief over all that I've been through for the last 5 years. And I have this space, by myself to think about it. And I've been in counseling long enough now to be healed to have healing, not healed, to have healing enough to where my soul can kind of even approach these things. So anyway, with the guidance of my leader, I ended up beginning to write about scleroderma, which has really been something I just dreaded to do. For a while, there was no way. I mean, I couldn't say a word. But he gave me these parameters that made it feel safe and doable. He said, just go write badly. That was very freeing. He knows that if you try to write something great, you're just going to be all frozen. Just go write badly, and then you work on the editing later. But go write badly and just write the facts. Just get down the facts, all the facts of what happened. Don't worry about the meaning. Don't worry about the feelings. Just get down the facts. And so it gave me like this safe border, around the trauma. And so, sorry, excuse me. And so right now, I got home just a few days ago, Friday, and I'm still working on it. It's going to be a long project, and I feel direction, and I feel motivated, and I feel like God is with me and on this project, and that He is also using it to further my healing. So just thought I would share that with all of you who have followed me down this very difficult journey. And you can pray for that for my writing project. I would love to put in it the wrestle over how I saw God before and what happened. Why didn't the first cancer, make me doubt God? Why did scleroderma totally turn upside down my relationship with God? And where am I now? And how do I make sense of what happened. And anyway, and with the ongoing suffering. So anyway, I love y'all. I wonder what you're working on and what you're enjoying and what good things are happening in the midst maybe of suffering, or what new, I hope not, chapter of suffering has happened for you. I am seeing that in my journals on the scleroderma, there were very, very tangible signs of life from God, at least in those first months. That's where I've been working. So I love you. I hope that I will come back soon and let you know what happens in 2 weeks when I go for my PET scan and talk to the leukemia prevention people. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.